Foundation is doing is enormously important. From the up-and-coming actors to the veterans like myself, the Foundation is here to help all of us.
As fellow artists, we've all been there. It's crucial that we remember where we came from and help out however we can.
For over 25 years, the SAG Foundation has been the industry's best-kept secret, and we're out to change that.
As natural storytellers, it's great that we have the opportunity to give back through the Children's Literacy Program.
A disaster like Sandy really brings it home with how crucial the SAG Foundation is. Their donation drive helped so many people in need.
The seminars and workshops are crucial. Working together is what makes us better.
The SAG Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies solely on donations to keep these important programs free for everyone.
The SAG Foundation can't do it alone. We need you.
If you need help, ask.
If you can help, give.
We're all in this together.
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 Together, everyone benefits.
Join the cause.
Act now.
With us, so welcome to everyone who's watching across the country. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you guys for showing up. A couple things before we get started. Our goal is to connect with many actors, union and non-union, here in Los Angeles, New York, and across the world to help educate and inform you guys about what does it mean to be an actor. A couple ways we're doing that is we're really being conscious about being in all the social media outlets. I'm catching some feedback, yeah? So ways we're doing that. One, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/SAG Foundation. Please follow us there. Twitter.com/SAG Foundation. I recommend writing these down. And also youtube.com/SAG Foundation, which is a big one. We are archiving all our videos there. That is the quickest place you can see a video. This video tonight will automatically be up there as soon as we're done. So with all the information you're going to hear tonight, and guarantee you will not have time to write it all down, that's okay. We want you to watch it over again. We want you to watch it 3 or 4 times to learn how to properly self-tape, and the best way to do that is go to YouTube. What I ask you also to do is if you love what you saw tonight, please share the word. Share links on Facebook, share it out on Twitter @SAG Foundation, not during the event because our cell phones are off, but after the event, please share information you enjoyed because that's ways of taking information and hearing from you guys and getting feedback as well as those surveys that I talked about. Lastly, I need to say, is that again, we do not get your initiation fees and dues. Same thing with everyone on the live stream. We do not get your initiation fees and we do not get your dues. We're based on grants and donations. And we need help with that. The people that help us with the grants challenged us and go, we want the participants to become owners, to take ownership of this space. We want you to move from just participating to feel like this is a place you go to get the latest information and to feel like you're best informed. So something we're asking you to do is everyone turn to their right. You see a little SAG Foundation cash box over there. If you got a couple of bucks, be willing to drop that in. I know some people don't have cash. We have a donate button on the website. A couple ways to think about this. Every seat for every event costs about $17 a person. That's, if you can donate $5, maybe $1 a year, $5 a year, best deal in town. Also, another way to think about it is we have over 160,000 national members. Imagine if everyone gave $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. All those CAP events you can't get into might help us get more CAP events. Get what I'm saying? Everyone's nodding their head. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So think about that. I'm still a little staticky. And also another way to think about it is we help assist in living expenses. Superstorm Sandy was something we tried to be a part of as well. So the money you give might actually help the person next to you pay a phone bill or be able to pay their rent for another month to figure things out. Another way to think about it. Make sense, guys? Thank you. Thank you for whatever you give. Thank you for being here. That's hugely important. So with that, I want to pass it over to a wonderful actress, a wonderful woman. She's also the Dallas Secretary SAG and AFTRA member, and she's here with us tonight because she, being in Dallas and New Orleans, self-tapes a lot and wants to educate everyone on how to do it. So let's give Sharon Garrison a hand.
Thank you so much. Yes, I do serve on the board there, and I recommend that to anyone who's watching and listening, and all of you here, to get involved. Friends of mine say, why do you spend so much time on that? I'm paying it back. because SAG has been very good to me and AFTRA. I've been a member for 35 years of both groups. So I really love my union, and they serve us well. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I am an actor, sometimes producer and director of short films. I haven't done my feature yet, but I'm working on it. But I live in Dallas. I also have an apartment in New Orleans, which is very important because there's a whole lot of work going on. I see some heads nodding. Yeah, a lot of work down there. I'm lucky that my daughter lives there, and I have a grandchild there, so I have a good reason to have gotten an apartment and stay down there. But I can work local hire, and I know everybody, a lot of the people watching have that to deal with all out in the regions. But that's fun. I lived in LA for quite a while, way back when, back in the 70s, and ended up going out and doing what I do outside of LA, but I still love coming here, and I really enjoy being here tonight. Thank you. A shout out to the SAG Foundation for these Life Raft programs, especially those of us out in the regions. We really appreciate getting to see some of these, because you guys get to come here and watch and participate as much as you can and want to, and we didn't have that. So this is just terrific. And the quality of the programming of the program that you watch has gone way up. So thanks to the team here who've done that and made that happen for us. My first love is acting, and so I want to preface everything that I'm going to say tonight with the fact that I am not a photographer. I have a degree in film, but I was mainly acting. I've run the cameras a little bit, but I didn't know much about this. I did start out in theater, so I have a lot of theater background training, and that helps a lot in this industry, as you probably know. But I've never been a trained photographer, and so I'm not an expert. But I have a lot of friends who are, and that's who I call on to help me out of jams when I have a question about some of the setup that I need to do. And so develop a team. That's one of the things that I really think is important with this. What I learned to do as I needed it. And I started doing it. I followed the directions from all the casting directors. I started doing it to tape my own auditions. That's why I got the equipment, because I couldn't find it. And for any of you mature actresses or actors in here, I didn't like the lighting that people were giving me. So I worked really hard on my lighting. I see a lot of heads nodding on that. I made my acting coach get better lighting. I said, I'm not going to be in here with all these youngsters if I don't have good lighting. So anyway, and she did. But anyway, I followed the directions, and you're going to hear that term a lot, following the directions when you're doing this. I continually do my research on videotaping, and I watch and listen for the trends, because the trends change, it evolves all the time. I'm with the Dallas-Fort Worth Local, and back in the middle, 2005 or so, several members created a group called ProACT, I'm popping my P's, Professional Actor Career Training. And it's kind of a conservatory for us. And we started that. I came into it, was on the committee, and then I've chaired that committee for the past 7 years or so. But we do trainings for actors, mostly for our members, but we reach out into the community. It's a good organizing tool to have them come in and work with us on trends and what's going on in the industry. And that's kind of where I started getting out and training on the videotaping, because I was doing it for me, then I started doing it for my friends, and then I was going, heck, I've got all this stuff, I'm home a lot, so I started charging a little money for that time I was putting in there. I don't charge as much as most people do who do this, especially DPs and that sort of thing, and I'll get into that later, because I think actor is better. Oops, anybody who's watching who is a DP. I just think they're better, the work turns out better. But anyway, we did a big workshop in Dallas last year. It was well attended, huge attendance. And everybody felt like they were getting some good information. I had a big panel on that one. Then I took it to Chicago, to their conservatory, great people in Chicago, and we had a blast. So I hope you enjoyed tonight, and I hope you get a lot of great information. So I'm going to go right in. This has worked for me, by the way. I started doing this several years ago. I'm considered, along with a couple of my colleagues, kind of on the cutting edge and the leading edge of this. Out in the regions, we have to do it. Because a long time ago, I felt like I was stuck in Dallas. I'm not stuck there. It's a blessing now. I'm in the middle of the country. I can get most anywhere pretty quick and pretty inexpensively. So I feel really fortunate. I can do that first audition on tape. If I need to go for a callback, I do it, unless, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But I did get booked through a tape on Drop Dead Diva on Lifetime. It tapes in Atlanta. It films in Atlanta, and it's a great series that I did seasons 3 and 4 as a judge on that. And they were canceled in January, but they were picked up a few weeks ago again for the 5th season. So I'm hoping that Judge Emilio will be back. So keep your fingers crossed and watch for me on that one. I also booked Common Law on tape, and that's one that I was called back to New Orleans, and I was in Dallas at the time, and I told my agent I can't do that. I have a gig that day, and so I couldn't go. And I said, tell them to just cast me off the tape. Hold their callbacks, but I'll just cast. They did. So I got a great 2-day thing. And my tape for that was just wonderful. And it was not a big role, but I had 2 days on it, and it was really fun working on it. And there are ways to do it. Practice, practice, practice. That's the whole thing. So we're going to move right into this thing, and I'm going to go 90 miles an hour and slow me down. Yes, sir.
Research and editing. I forgot to talk about that. So you can
research.
Tell them research and.
Oh, that's
very top.
Research and editing. Top
we're
of that.
We're doing editing
yes. Okay, you have to do your research, and we're going to do this. This is just a tutorial tonight. So you need to go if you have questions on things, and if I don't cover it fully, as I said, I'm not a total expert. I may not be able to answer all your questions. So go and do your research. Oh man, with the internet, it's all out there. You can find anything you want. It takes a little time and patience, but you can. So do that. We're not going to deal with editing tonight. There's going to be another one in April. And I'm looking forward to that, on file compression and file uploading, downloading, all of that stuff you have to do. It can be daunting, but it's really not as hard. I know how to do it on my equipment, and I'm an expert on my equipment, but there's so many different kinds. Did I cover that all? Okay. That was on there. Okay, so tonight is production only. Post-production we'll do later. Main points we're going to cover tonight. Just some general points that you need to know. The equipment, camera, audio, lighting, shooting info, just some tips and just some things, and especially on performance tips, just things I've learned from putting hundreds and hundreds of actors on tape, including children. It's really crazy. And we're going to end with the common mistakes that people make on this. So if that kind of whets your appetite for what we're doing, I hope so. How many of you have done a video audition before? Great, great. How many of you have taped it yourself? Good. Okay, so we have some people who've kind of gotten their feet wet and want to learn more about it. How many of your agents are really helpful in this? I'm very blessed with 2 agents out in the regions who are extremely big on this. We work it all the time. I also have an agent here who in LA who has started really pushing me and walks these in for me and pitches me for things here. Yes, sir. Oh, no, we can't go with questions yet. And I'm...
Just a statement about the agent.
Yes.
I do have an agent who gives me specific instructions on how she wants it videotaped.
That's great. That's great. And you will hear again, read, follow the directions. It's very, very important. So if you want to really take control of your auditions, then improve and perfect this craft and learn how to do it. I'm very passionate about it. I was a huge believer years ago that this is the coming thing. It will be like now, any of you who do voiceover, how many of you record in your apartment, in your home? Yeah, have a recording studio. I do too. That's where I started. And then I moved into this. It's now so easy to do voiceover. Well, now everybody's going to have something like a setup or a friend that you share it with. And that will be something we'll be talking about a lot. So take control. Be fearless, just like we're supposed to be as actors. Be fearless about it. Go ahead and go in. You're putting it on tape. You can look at it, and if you blew it, you can go back unless you're on a deadline, which happens. I've been sitting there trying to upload by a 5 o'clock deadline, and then my computer decides to take a nap, and you're just like, stop. But anyway, it is fun. It can be nerve-wracking, but commit to it, and it's a great, great thing for this business, because you guys that live here in LA can go all over the world through video. I get to go to LA or Atlanta or whatever from Dallas. And I have a little studio in New Orleans too. So I tape other people down there when I'm there. But it's great fun. But educate yourself, educate yourself, and learn as much as you can. We're going to talk about your equipment options. There's so many. And commitment of time, some money. But the money amounts up to you. You can really set something up pretty cheaply. And options for you to get your auditions done, even if you don't have the setup yourself. And that's to create a team and go to somebody else's house or somebody that lives close. Several actors I know here have 4 or 5 people that they work with. So there's always somebody to read with you or to turn on the camera or whatever. So here we go. Partnership with your agent. And my agent told me this, actually. I asked him for tips yesterday. And he said, if the CDs, wherever they are not watching these, then you're wasting your time, you're wasting your agent's time, you're wasting everybody's time. And so make sure your agent understands the process. Have any agents in the room or watching? But there's a process involved, and it's really important. And so your reel becomes even more important, because they can cast you right off your audition if they believe you're solid and have the chops and can go on set and deliver. So, but your agent and you must be in partnership, and it's something you have to cultivate and nurture and let it grow. Okay, so we're going to talk now about equipment. We'll start with the tripod. If you are taping, and we'll talk in a moment, from camera, iPhone 4 or higher, you can use those, and people get some pretty good auditions. If you practice with it, you can learn to do it. But you've got to have a tripod. You can't just prop it up somewhere. And we'll talk about eye line. You never want to shoot from down here, because they're looking up your nose. Your eyes look bad. Everything looks bad if the camera is low. So, sorry, TMI, a little too much information, but it's true. But the proper height, stability of your tripod, oh my goodness, when I put my camera on my tripod, it's so important. I've had my dog run through after a shoot, because I usually move it, almost knock it over. Oh my gosh, so protect your equipment like crazy, your tripod. You can get them from any price, really low up to really high priced. I got a nice one with a fluid head. That's my preference, because it's a real nice even pan. You can do the tilt that we need to do, because you do a whole body shot on these, usually at the end. A body shot with your name and height. It's called a tail slate. And so it's really important, the tripod. Over handheld, there's just no one wants to watch that. It's jiggly, and we're not doing guerrilla filmmaking, on these. Have it really solid and the right height, and we'll work on that a little bit when we get into our demos. Cameras, so many options, everybody. They're just great. I ended up with a Sony, and I got a cutting-edge one back in 2008, and it's still serving me so well. I love my camera, but I have friends that are completely committed to Nikon, to Panasonic, to Canons, and all the others. There are so many, but get yourself a good camera, and just really decide how much you can spend, and then go talk to some specialists, and they'll help you. They really, there are some good people out there in some of these stores who can really help and will give you the right information and the right level of technology for you. If you really want to embrace this and learn about it and possibly do this for your friends, which I do, or people I don't know. I had like 10 calls this week, and I'm not there. I had one mother call me and say, well, he won't shoot with anybody but you. This is like an 8 or 9-year-old. And I said, tell him to get over it or get out of this business. Because, you need, whether you're going to me or going to someone else to tape you, or whether you're doing it yourself, you take charge. Your taper is not responsible for knowing how it's supposed to be labeled, how it's supposed to be ordered, and who it's supposed to go to, or how large the file, which is huge, a big, big thing of how they have limits on many of these casting sites, and you must have it at a certain file level, file size, or they won't be able to use it. So you take charge and you do it. But the camera, there's the iPhone you can use. There's the DSLR, which is rather complex. This is a photographer's camera, and you can do beautiful, beautiful work with it. They do major photography with those. It does have the direct download, like the camcorder does. Almost all of them do. It's just the connections that you have to get. Very complex technology, though, and it's pretty expensive. But it is a gorgeous camera, but you don't need that to do an audition. This is an audition after all. Camcorder, that's what mine is here. These can be expensive. This one was probably something in the neighborhood of $1,300 when I bought it. They're now $600 or $700 for the same camera, a better camera. So just like everything else, the price is going down. And so you can find a really, really good camera for $120, You really can. It's all about what you put with it, how you light it, how you do your sound. Mine has a hard drive, which I really like. You do run out of hard drive room because I teach, I coach, and so I sometimes get, I'm out of memory there. So you have to download that to the computer pretty often. But I like it having that, so I'm not dealing with all the little thingies and are downloading directly to computer while you're taping, which some of them can do. This is high def, and high def is almost the standard now. So I recommend high definition. It's much prettier shot. But go with the highest quality you can afford, and as I said, the fact that you're not going to go with the most expensive camera is not going to hurt your auditions. Just learn your camera, your technology. How do you light it? Because that's the key. Lighting it is the key. Do your homework. Connectivity, consider how it connects to your computer and what kind of computer you have, because that sometimes has some bearing. But USB, that's the way I actually collect. Mine goes with USB. FireWire is Apple. That's Apple only. Memory cards are those little, SD cards and those kind of things, and those drive me nuts. But a lot of people use them, and it's fine if it works for you. There are lots of ways, lots of options. But please, whatever you do, take time to become familiar with everything you've got. Practice with it. Have fun with it. You can use these. I happen to have mine when my daughter got married, so I was able to use my own camera and someone set it up because I have a great camera. But get to know it, and don't wait until you're on a deadline with an audition to figure out how to get that wonderful audition you just did into your computer, and then they'll deal with it next month. Camera settings. These are things you have to deal with when you buy the camera and get those instructions. Read them, study them, learn them. White balancing, you're going to hear that term, used to scare me to death. White balancing is a really simple thing. Most cameras are very easily white balanced these days. A friend of mine who's a big photographer directed a movie I just did, but he was saying get the 18% gray card, and that's what you white balance. But some people are writing that down. It's something you just put it, the first time you use your camera, you white balance it. Most cameras nowadays kind of maintain that unless you're really changing settings a lot. But you only have to do it. And you do it, you look at it, and you make sure as you look at it on a monitor and make sure that the skin tone is correct. That's all that white balancing means. Your whites are white, skin tone is skin tone, and not green, the way they sometimes come out. if your camera's not set properly. So that's the reason for that. Manual, this is one of the main ones for me. Manual versus autofocus. If you're a photographer, you know all that. But if you do manual and you're reading with your friend, your client, whoever, then if it goes, if they lose focus, then you've got to throw that one out. So autofocus is what I use when I shoot, when I'm reading, and then I change it to manual for things like the body pan and all of this, because my camera has a tendency to lose focus when I'm at a certain distance. So I manually focus it when I'm doing a body pan. There are lots of other terms you're going to hear, and I'm going to mention them briefly, but they're not necessary. Camera stabilizer, well, I use my tripod for that, but this is like a steady cam, and we're not going to be moving around the room. This is not that kind of shooting. Interlaced, progressive, most of the cameras are progressive now. You use the progressive mode, and all of that is about resolution, pixels, and all that stuff. Lossy versus lossless file formats, it's mainly that lossless, you don't lose, when you compress your file, you don't lose generation, and these are all things that you can set in your camera, but it's all there for you when you get the camera. So these are things you may hear, don't worry about them. And all that aperture, iris, all that stuff is not things that you need to be concerned about on this kind of shooting. If you want to take it up, great, and you can change that depth of field and all of that, if your camera will do it. Hot shoe mount. That's the little thing here's my camera, on top of it that holds either a flash on a regular camera, you may be used to that, or a microphone, which is what I have on here. And this is a little microphone that I got, and we'll talk about that in a minute, to go with my camera. The camera, of course, has sound in it. It has a microphone in the camera, but we don't recommend that. Resolution, standard definition or high definition. Most of your cameras these days are high def. You can set it to standard if you want to on most of them. High def, it's so important, and one of the things I didn't mention in here, I was talking to our actor who's going to be up here with us in a minute, about nothing sparkly. No sparkly eyeshadow, no sparkly lips, no sparkles on your clothes, because high def, it just goes crazy if you do. You can I have kids come in with makeup on with the sparkles, or they'll have something, glitter on their T-shirt. Well, it's all over the room. It's all over their face. And it's very distracting because you can see it, because I have really good definition in mine. So most of it's shot HD. I go to standard to get it to the 4:3 aspect ratio. What you're watching, if you're watching from home right now, is in widescreen. And I like to shoot auditions in the 4:3, the old television style before widescreen, because you can get a great close-up and there's not a lot of stuff on the left or the right. So I change my camera to do that. Every now and then someone will request it, and I still haven't figured out, Dennis, why they would want it widescreen, because all they're getting is a little more of this green curtain, rather than me. So anyway. I like 4:3. That's my choice, but people do it all different ways, and you have to make those choices. Audio, onboard camera mics, you can have that. That's what you've got in your camera. It will pick up the sound. It will not be very satisfactory. And so, you can do what you got. It took me about a week to know that I needed to get this little microphone, which is about $50. This is not an expensive microphone. And this one's lasted years and years, and it's done great for me. But this is a zoom or a gun, so I can use it on zoom. I always use it on gun myself because it's just picking up what's in the room. And personally, I've learned also to have my subject, the actor, needs to be really close. I don't go way, way back, except when I'm doing the body pan. I keep my actor like a little closer than you have there, Dennis, but about 4 feet, 5 feet away. And that, your mic is going to pick up. It's really nice. You also have options. I have a colleague in Dallas who I know suspends a microphone and actually runs it to the camera. You have all these connectors you could learn about. It's easy to do, to go to one of the stores that sells all that stuff, and they'll explain it to you to make sure you're connected properly and the right distance away from the actor. So it's just the overhead mic. You can do that, or you can do the lav, which we've all used and seen, and those are great. To me, it's just a lot of hassle, and I personally don't do the lav, but I know people who do, and they swear by it. So it's an audition, you know. So the lav would be for if I'm doing some little home movie thing. Noise. Noise. Houses are the noisiest. Apartments are so noisy, and you don't realize it until you try to get things quiet. And then you can hear the refrigerator, the air conditioner. I've got birds outside. And that's, you know, I told my agent I needed a BB gun or something, you know. But I go out with a slapstick that I used to use when I did Commedia. And I'll try to get the birds to leave for a minute while I finish shooting. It's terrible. You're doing this emotional scene and we tweet, 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 you know, in the background. It's really embarrassing, especially when I'm charging people, you know. I'm sorry. Anyway, wind, you've got wind problems. I happen to have, I'm very blessed to have a sunroom on the back of my house, and that's where I shoot. And when we redid the windows, I did the double pane because I knew I would be using it for some sound things. And so I've got that. And turn off your cell phone, your actor, everyone in the room, because it will make that horrible feedback thing on the sound. Not always, but sometimes, and it can ruin your audition. Cell phones win. Refrigerator, I turn mine off if I have a really quiet scene. I'll just go, you have to remember to turn it back on, or everything in it gets medium cold. So all of those things, I do turn the AC off just when I'm shooting. It's really hot, and then they turn it back on while they move the cameras. But we do as much of that as possible and just kind of gauge your own place. And you'll find that on trash day, you can't do an audition right then when they're coming. You know, I have a yard guy that comes next door that just blasts everything out when he's there, and we have to stop and wait. So, okay, so we're down to the big cool thing, and we have Lauren here. Thank you, Lauren, for being here. We're talking about lighting now, and we're not going to be working a lot with sound any further. This is something, there are all kinds of places you can go to check that out. So, because we can't do the sound in this room. But we can do lighting, and Dennis has been wonderful to go and get something I suggested. Lighting, if you've been in photography at all, you know 3-point lighting. You can look that up. There are all kinds of tutorials about that and ideas for making it work for you. And you all know, and we all know, if you watch TV and film, especially television though, I guess we have Lauren on camera, do we?
Yep.
Great, okay, I can see her. You see that bright sparkle in her eye? That's what you want to get. That is, it makes the eyes pop. And if you don't have some sort of light in front of you, if you only have overhead light, it's what I call dead eyes. You know, there's nothing there. It's just a dark hole. So Lauren's eyes look beautiful, and that's something you try to go for. But 3-point lighting, you have a key light, which is your brighter light. And our key is on camera left, Lauren's right. And so the right side of her face is a little brighter than the left. Our fill light is on the left. These little globes that we're using those Chinese lanterns that you can buy for $8-10 at the import store. And these make a beautiful, beautiful light. And the light wraps, which I just learned that. My photographer friend who helped me put my setup together. When it's diffused like that, it really wraps. So we've got a really nice light on Lauren. Behind her and above her head is a backlight, which is what separates. See how there's a little halo thing around her hair? that separates her from her background. And so those 3 lights, you can do this with a light. You can do this with a light you get from the hardware store, like one of those spots that you get and put them outside, work lights, that sort of thing. You can do that. You can play around with which wattage of a bulb you want to use for that. You can get those spots that they have and use them and put them wherever you need them to get the light right. If the light is not strong enough, you'll go blurry. Your shot will be blurry. But I love this with the 3 lights. It's very simple. They're compact. You can put them away. I have little hooks in the ceiling. I've really gone crazy with mine. So I can move them up and down depending on how tall the person is, because what you want your lights as close to eye level as possible. So if you're using just a lamp, moving a lamp over there will work. You can put 3 lights around the room. And we have those wonderful tall standing lamps that are reading lights, and they'll have 3 different bulbs, 3 different lamps on each one. You can use those and direct them away anywhere you want them to be. You can light your backdrop a little more if you need to, depending on if the person has light skin, dark skin, light hair, dark hair. You can change your backdrop. Now, I'm not crazy about the dark backdrop we have here, and neither are the CDs that I have worked with. And I was saying earlier, they recommend white, no white, no black, but definitely blue, gray blue. I got a gray blue sheets, and those are my backdrops. And periwinkle, which I'm not crazy about, but many people use it, that bright periwinkle blue. I think it's distracting for a drama. It's good for commercial and good for kids auditions. But for mine, it's a gray blue sheet. I got 2 king-size sheets. I put poles in the top. I can roll them up and put them away. And I put a pole on the bottom so it hangs straight, and then you can move it. Or you can paint a wall the color that you want it to be, one wall that you use. And that works really well, too. Chinese lanterns are great. Soft boxes are the actual photography lamps, and you can get those. I don't know if I can say Cowboy Studios, but .com. And others, there's so many. Cowboy Studios happens to have a lot of them for a really reasonable price. So, but you can just search soft boxes and you can see them, and they're really reasonable. And you can get some of those set up, and you can move them away and get them out of the way when you don't want them. Because most of us, I leave my stuff set up. I'm very fortunate that I have this extra room. We don't get to use it for a sunroom anymore, but it's there for me when I need it. Mixing natural light is always the best. Don't shoot, of course, with the light behind you. Shoot, get your setup so that the light is coming and lighting you. This is extremely important to know, in that if you have natural light available and you're shooting at night, of course, it's gone. So I have found that I have to turn my light instruments down in the evening rather than higher. I have to bump them up, and I put everything on a dimmer, separate dimmers for each of the lights. Those are inexpensive too and easy to set up, easy to plug in. And I have to turn them down in the evening to make the light even. So it's just something I learned the hard way with it getting, I couldn't get enough light. I couldn't get the light balanced during the daytime. So that's great. Some topics on shooting. As far as, and zooming and all of that sort of stuff, let's go into that a little bit now. We're gonna do a little bit of a scene, an actual audition that Lauren is gonna do for us. And we're going to let Lauren look into, she's going to be taping this with her partner, a reader, another excellent actor. This is things that you want to have as a great actor reading with you. And if you would take 2 or 3 steps to your left there. Yeah, even further. Okay, so would you start the scene? Action, folks.
So, how are you?
I'm not sure.
What's going on? How's lunch?
Well, Alex brings this new woman agent on me, no warning. And I'm feeling a little, I don't know.
Well, isn't two people working for you better than just one?
Okay, cut. Couple of things going on there. If you would step closer to the camera, I know I made you move, so, but looking at this, you want your reader as close to that camera as you can get him or her. So we're looking at, so now you look at Lauren and she's looking right almost into the camera, but of course, unless it's a commercial, spokes, that kind of thing, you don't want to look in the camera, or Slate, which we'll talk about in a sec. So Lauren is now looking at her partner, and let's read again.
So how are you?
I'm not sure.
What's going on? How was lunch?
Well, Alex brings this new woman agent on me, no warning. And I'm feeling a little, I don't know.
Well, isn't two people working for you better than just one?
No, it bugs me. I mean, it's not like I'm not thrilled with Alex, but at least...
Does she have any good ideas?
Who?
The new agent. Did she
Okay,
have...
cut. And we're losing a little bit. We have some low wattage bulbs in here, I think. And we probably need to bump up just a little. If
Which
you
one?
bump up, camera left, stage right, bump the, is the other one up all the way?
No, you want the fill or you want the...
I want the fill.
Fill.
Up. That went down. It's out. Now it's up. Okay. And now the key. Yeah, we bumped her up past. But the reason we were losing focus there was what I was telling you, that if you don't have enough light, the camera can't hold on to it. It keeps trying to compensate and create that for you. Now you can take the key down slightly and the fill down very slightly, but a little higher than it was before. Okay, we didn't know what that was going to look like, so that's cool. We've talked about background colors, framing, wide shots, close-ups. You want to get your face being the main thing. Where the camera is set right now, this is a medium shot, is what they consider from the CDs. So mid-chest, they even sometimes say waist to top of head. You don't want to get too much tighter on this unless it's a really dramatic, intimate scene. And then there's no reason why you couldn't move forward. Okay, Lauren is now, this would be where we would shoot the scene. Now let's make it a little tighter on her. Up a little bit. This is more like a headshot. I call it a talking headshot. Okay, right there. Pan to your right, just a little. I'm sorry, your left. There we go. Okay. Now, Laura, if you would slate directly into the camera, just name and roll.
Lauren Donahue, reading for Claire.
Very good, very good. So that's where you would do your slate, and then you would pull back. Now, I personally like to stop between, and I can edit that together later so that we could do even a couple of slates. I came across a wonderful, I can't remember the casting director. Oh, I haven't met her, but I came across this wonderful thing on the internet explaining slates. And I recommend everybody to do research on slates. Yes, yes. It's fabulous. And she shows you, it's a whole comic thing that she does. But it is really, really wonderful. And slates are so important. It's your greeting, you're in the room, and I think I have a little something about that later. But anyway, framing, wide shot, close up, however they want you to do it. Out in the regions, the casting directors are so specific, it's scary. I sent the office one of them from Army Wives, which is a fabulous show and really wonderful, and we all just dying to get on that show. It's in like the 2000th season or something. But it's really good, and it's 2 pages long, you guys, where he talks about how they want it. And some of it's because they've dealt with a lot of people out in the regions who are not well trained and don't know what they're doing. And so they're so specific. I mean, he even says, have a reader, don't have the reader be too loud and all that sort of thing. But it's hilarious. Just figuring out what they want is a big deal. Okay, as I said, medium shot for the audition. This is your go-to. This is what you would do if you don't have any instructions. Medium shot, and your agent, you were saying, does give you specific things, which is great. Close up for the slate, and a full body shot at the end. Interestingly, tail slates are becoming the norm out in my neck of the woods. The tail slate being, you do the close-up, you do the scene, then you have a close-up where you tell them your name, role, agent, which is what I use unless they tell you they don't want the agent, they don't want the role. They'll be very specific, but I use name, role, agent if they don't give you anything. And and it's at the end of it. So then they either pull back and zoom out, and they do a body shot of you, full length. Now, if you're sitting for the audition, you're not going to have the opportunity to stand up and do your body shot. So I do those separately, and then I cut them together. And while I'm on that, don't get creative and do fade out and fade in on your auditions. Like if it goes from scene to scene, don't do that. They don't like it because they're going to cut it up to put it on their equipment to show the director and the producer, and they don't want to have to worry about your fading. I was told that very specifically by one of the biggest casting director on the East Coast. So don't do that. Let me see if I can catch up with myself. Location, we have Lauren sitting here, and there's nothing wrong with sitting for an audition if it works for the scene. But it does have a tendency to lower your energy. I know that when I do voiceover, it's really important to keep your energy up, and if you're sitting, you get more and more relaxed in your chair. So it's really important to keep that energy up. So if it doesn't matter, then standing is probably better. As long as you stand properly and put one foot slightly in front of the other one, which you won't rock. You won't do what I call the dance and have your head bouncing off the sides of the screen. So, which everybody has a tendency to do, especially when we go in nerves. But literally, if you put one foot like an inch or two in front of the other, if you don't know that trick going into a casting director to tape, it's great because you can't rock. So it's great. Sitting or standing, distance from camera, we talked about that. Always have an excellent reader. They should be quiet, but they should be giving you something. And they should, it doesn't matter if what they're saying is understood, but probably better if it is. It makes a little more sense to those watching the audition. But depending on how intimate the scene is, it's really important to keep, have that reader be responding to you, making eye contact with you as much as possible, because it's really, really, and you all have been in an audition where you're looking at the top of the reader's head the whole time and trying to cry or something. It's just ridiculous. But you get to take control when you do it this way. So it's great. Content, how it's arranged, follow directions. They'll tell you if they want the slate at the beginning, the slate at the end, scenes cut in between. Sometimes they're that specific. Just remember that the way they're doing when they're doing a lot of video auditions is they're looking on a screen. And Mark Van Cannon actually showed me the screen, and he had all these thumbnails. Your thumbnail is what they're going to see. So the first frame in your audition must be your face. Whether you're doing the scene or the slate, it must be your face. Just you standing there. It can be looking off. You can be in character, ready to start. But that's what they need to see. And if it's the slate, then you're looking directly in, and that's good. It's just like walking in the room and making eye contact with those you're auditioning for and with. Readers, eyeline. I've changed it around a little bit. I'm running late. Okay, I've changed it around a little bit. Eyeline, if you lower the camera and you're looking at Lauren, her face. Okay, and we're looking up at her a little bit. Now, kind of squat down a little bit, Dennis. And I want Lauren to pretend she's looking at a child and talking to a child. Now, come back up a little bit. It's going to be good exercise, good exercise. Okay, so she is looking down a little bit, but her head is down. That's okay. You never want to have the eye line lower than the person unless you're doing something like this. When I first auditioned for Drop Dead Diva for a judge, we lowered the camera and I was looking down at the people talking to me, because that's where you are when you're on in the judge place, wherever. See, I don't know much of anything. Okay. Follow directions if there are any. If they're not, put the slate at the beginning. Scene, scene, tail slate, where you would do the body pan, come up, smile, say your name and height. And that's you pretty good. And where do you store all this stuff? You store this at home. It's really, really scary because it's a lot of equipment and it's in the way all the time. And you just have to decide that as you're buying your equipment. You figure out what you can, where you can put it. You might have a corner, whatever. But that is a consideration that you need to have. I have hooks in the ceiling. I have my backdrop hanging there so I can pull it up. If we have guests and we want to use the sunroom, I can do that. But it's very bulky, so you need to decide that. I'm going to whiz through the common mistakes. Okay. No title cards anymore. If requested, you do it, but no one puts, like, you know, Lauren as Claire, an agent, and whatever. Don't do that anymore. And follow the directions or it will not be watched, especially on some of the stuff out in the region. One of the cool things about this is you guys can audition all over the country now. And you couldn't do that before. You've got to bring your agents around, you know, get them on the bandwagon there. Nothing should be visible on camera but you. We don't want to see furniture. We don't want to see anything like that. And we have had a lot of people in Texas that were actually staging the scene. You know, we had a set going. I'm going, no, 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 no. That's for the artistic, the artistic team will do that. Sometimes you have to use a prop. You never want to pantomime a phone, of course. But a cell phone turned off is acceptable. That's about the only thing that is acceptable. And there's there's arguments on this. Some casting directors say yes, some say no, some say no costumey things, others say be the part, you know, come in a doctor's coat, come in, and I think that's more the norm now as far as wardrobe. In your slate, be personable, not stiff. I want you to look into that camera, Lauren, and I want you to say, do your slate, and I want you to picture somebody in the lens.
Hi, I'm Lauren Donahue, reading for Claire.
Oh gosh, I want to work with her. You know, and people get up there and say, Lauren, what is your last name? Lauren, reading for Claire. You know, and I'm going, well, I don't want her on my set. Anyway, it's really important, and I'm sorry, but LA actors do that more than other people. They get real, I am an actor. I'm going to sit here and just, but picture someone in that camera. Picture someone, really do it. Use your visualization and do it. I can't tell you how important that is, because this is your opportunity to be in the room with them. Because they're not. They're looking at a monitor, and you want that feeling that you're there, and that you want them to like you, and you want them to want to be around you for a week or a day or a month, whatever. Okay, no blank screens. Don't enter or exit into or out of the frame. As I said, your thumbnail is what they're looking at the beginning, so no running into the scene. And you never want to have that blank thing. There's no set there. There's nothing fun to look at. If you need to exit, can I go back to Lauren? And I want you to do, we kind of talked about this. Okay, you're mad, you're talking to him. Stand up there so she has eyes. And just say something and then pretend to leave and just turn.
Didn't she have any good ideas?
and then give him a look. Okay, there we go. I call it punctuation at the end of the scene. That way, your eyes are what they're looking at. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see you gone, for sure. Very important. Locating other characters, if you have 2 or 3 people in the scene. Gosh, I put sticky notes on things, and I have a lamp sitting there that I always look at, and that turns into a person for me. There are debates on this, but I'll tell you, the auditions are beautiful. If you can do it, you have your reader, and they're reading everything. And you got him there, and you got this girl over here. You never want to move them way out. You always want it to be right by the camera. But you sometimes have to do that to make it make sense. So guess what? It's got to be rehearsed. So know exactly what you want to do. You take charge. If you choose to direct it all to the reader, that's okay, if it works for the scene. But you have to make those decisions. There is a debate on that. Some people feel that you shouldn't do that, but more have told me yes, that you should. Allow time at the beginning and the end of the take. Be in that place. You create it with visualization, and they'll see it. Build it, they will come. Okay, you have at the beginning of the thing, and you're in the scene. Even if you have the first words, give it a few seconds. At the end, give it a few seconds. Let it finish. Let the scene come to a finish. And that's incredibly important to getting cast, I've found. Eyes, eyes, eyes. Your eyes are it. So you want your eyes to be visible at all time to the camera. And guys, memorized. It's the norm now. Unless you get it and it's due in 2 hours, which happens. Memorize, practice line lifting, cold reading, but you got to memorize. You can hold it, but they don't. I mean, if I'm looking at this and you're doing this and you're down most of the time, eyes, 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 as I said. Energy high, even in dramatic scenes. Keep the pace. If you drag it, especially in television, you lose them. Television goes much faster, and usually you're not the person the scene is about, unless you're the lead. We're a feeding tube, one of my dear writer friends calls it. And that's fine. It pays just as good as anything else, and hopefully it'll build up to a better job, better gig. Slow pace, it'll kill it, especially TV, as I said. Okay, makeup, wardrobe, don't overdo it. No shine, I've said that. Keep it simple. Suggest the character, but the audition is about your performance, not what you're wearing. So that pretty much does it for what I have here to offer you. It is a ton. I've got some questions coming up here. Okay. And if anyone, just showing you, no, I don't need to do that. By the way, I was just showing my tripod, which is, I had another tripod before this one, and I went, you'll find yourself wanting to upgrade. It's better toys, But this one has the fluid head, so when I do need to pan, or when I need to do the tilt and do the body pan, it's so much smoother and so much easier to work with. Made a big difference to me. Okay. Is there a way to record with webcam already installed in your computer? What software do you use to record? Well, the recording is in my camera, auditioning monologue they sent you. So you're talking about working on a webcam. So you're talking about Skyping, or I don't redo that. That is not something I'm familiar with. I don't know who asked the question, but.
Not Skyping. It's like already a webcam is it, and the software is supposed to be in your computer.
And I've heard of it. I'm not familiar. That's another thing you could do your research and find out. But guys, if you Skype, if you do this, learn. I mean, my camera is on top of my screen, and when I Skype, the person is there. By the way, I had a big New York audition that we Skyped. It was really fascinating. But I had practiced at home, and the camera on top of my computer, I don't look at the person. I do this with my grandkids. I don't look at them because then my eyes are down. Keep your eyes on that lens. Learn to love the lens. It is just so important. But whatever you do, and get that lens, get that camera up higher, as even with or higher than your eyes. If you're looking down into, just not a good thing. Okay, very good, thank you. Sarah, can you begin with your back turned to camera if it works for the scene? Not if that is your first shot that you're going to be seeing, because they're going to get a back of your head as their thumbnail. So you don't want to do that. I've watched some online from studios where they did all the things that you're told not to do. It is okay to turn away during the scene and then turn right back, but I would never start it with your back to the camera. Even if it works for the scene. Find a way. Be creative. When you slate, should you be in character? Ooh, another big debate. There's a lady in Florida that does, what is it she does? Anyway, she says yes. And like you're supposed to have an accent. You're supposed to have a Texas accent or a Southern or whatever. Slate in that accent. Because you don't want them to be worried about it. But it depends on the audition. You have to take each one individually and consider what it is they're looking for. I just find being warm and wonderful the way Lauren was in her slate to be the very best way to do it. I would, if you have an accent, have a hint. Just a hint of it before you go into your scene. And then you can stop and start it up and get back into that. Because if you're like me with dialects, I need to do it for a while just before the scene. I need to really get in that rhythm. And so you can stop, get in your rhythm, and then shoot it, shoot the scene. Where should the camera be in relation to eye level? Always at or above, unless you're talking to children, as I said, or a judge. Always at, because it's really, it really is not attractive to be looking up from that angle. So eye level is the best. And sometimes if I'm talking to a guy, I mean, this would be the same if someone's sitting down or lying down. You might lower the camera slightly because you're going to be like this rather than talking down to them like this. So you have to, again, be creative. It's okay as long as it looks good. Just remember, don't shoot from under you, ever. Eye level, slating, and the, oh, that one. I had that one. Is that the same? Is the industry standard still both profiles after slate? Good question. I'm finding some, not all. Read the directions. And guys, get a highlighter. Print out the directions. If you really start auditioning, how many of you have auditioned like out in, for the Fincannons and for Florida and all of that with video? Yeah, it's cool. But they give you the directions. Go through with that highlighter and highlight the specific things you or your taper or your reader or whoever need to know, just like you would your lines. And then you don't have to search for it again, because the ones that are 2 pages long, I sometimes sit there, okay, see if they've changed anything since I did one of these. Sometimes they do, but when they do it, they want it fast. They don't want you to stand there and turn and then turn and then turn. They want it bam, 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 bam. And what they want to see is profile. They want to see mainly your nose profile. But they sometimes do that full length, if you can do that. I can't do that very easily in the size of my studio. So I usually start, and I start like mid at the waist level and then go down and then back up. I can do down to the knees if they really are calling for that, but I tell everybody, they want to see that you have feet. I had somebody come in to audition for a guy, an old man in oh, you know who you are if you're watching, an old man in a tuxedo. And he came over to my house to audition. He didn't have on pants. He had on shorts. And I was like, what are you doing? They're asking for a body pan here, so read the instructions before you go. And so I had to go into my husband's closet and pull out a pair of black pants for him. Anyway, extra charge. What bulb wattage and type do you like? Okay, I have the big globes and I use 300 to 500 watts. which means you don't get to use this for your dining experience later, you know. And you have to be careful because that's paper and that's a, you know, pretty, and I use a professional lamp, which we got online, and you get them pretty cheaply online. We buy them, you know, by the dozen, and I have them there available. And always have a lamp because it's going to burn out just before your big audition. So have backups. Good question. I'm glad you asked. It's not necessary to go that high. When I'm charging people to do it, I feel like I've got to have the lights really, really good. So I kind of go that extra distance. But you saw Lauren, that was a nice, you know, if she had a light background, it would be a nice light. So really good. Using an external voiceover, syncing. Why would you want to do a voiceover? Don't ever, I don't know if that's what you're talking about, don't ever record your own voice and be your own reader. They get a big laugh out of it, but I mean, if you want the casting directors and they're not going to send that to the producers, ever. And they can tell, and there's no exchange. That's what we're about, reacting and doing that. So don't find a neighbor, you know, the postman, get somebody to come and read for you. You know, that would be so sad if somebody can't find anybody. I'm not sure, I don't know why you would do the external. If it calls for a voiceover, you just do that voiceover right into the camera or depending, or right to your reader, you know. Monologues and that sort of thing, which there are quite a few that I do, especially with kids that I put on tape. I just have them just do it because that would be not be very effective, I don't think, because they want to see you. Ooh, they're stacking up. Can you begin with your eyes closed and then open them? No. If you want to start with your eyes open and then close them for some reason and then come back, maybe, if it has to be, but be creative. Find another way. In a dramatic look before you slide, no. Don't give them things to laugh about. You know, I mean, it's like, go watch that video. What is her name? Carolyn Barry, yes. Go watch her. She's been auditioning people for a long time, and it's hilarious. It's so fun. Slating. I don't. Google it. Yeah, I found it because I was looking up slates. What do we do nowadays? What's the trend? But she's funny. Medium shots should be used if no directions are given. Yes. Unless it's a real dramatic, intimate scene. And then I like to tighten it up, offset a little bit so that, I mean, like if you're my camera right there and you're my reader, then I might be slightly to camera right and I'm reading across this way, cutting off the top of the head and coming to about here. And it's very effective if it's a real intimate scene, and get your reader and your camera very close, so you don't have to project at all. You can do it. And this little microphone I got works, so try out your mics, they can work. Good question. Would you alter any advice if taping for theater or plays? Yes. Yes. I back the camera up and I put a lot of people on tape for regional theater. Yeah. Back the camera up, you do a little more of a, I get creative with that because they really enjoy that. And say they're doing a scene and they do a little movement, not a lot, but a little bit of movement, and I may zoom in on them for a more emotional moment or something. And then and we kind of block it a little bit before we start. Great fun and a great opportunity to audition for theaters around the country for that first read that we don't get to do. Yes, should they see more of you? Yes. But I would get some close-ups, and your slate definitely a close-up, and very friendly. I mean, just if you're a theater actor, you know how to go in that room and win them over. As far as lighting, which light key or fill do you use for your best side? Key. Your key light. And I switch them back and forth, and I don't know if that's appropriate or not. I don't know. I don't care. It works for me. But those of you in the room here can see that the key light is brighter, have I got them backwards? Is brighter, are they? I can't see them very well. Okay, good question. What is your website and best way? Just my name. New Orleans. Yeah, call me. If you Google taping or actor taping, I pop up. But anyway, and it tells you when I'm in New Orleans, except this week. I didn't put that I was not in Dallas. So I put my dates on there. So yeah, I'd love to see some of you if you're around. If you're down in New Orleans or in Dallas, look me up. When you upload the video to Vimeo or others, the video should downgrading. Oh, yeah, yeah. And I've been using a particular editing system that I will not name out loud, but it's a really nice one. But I learned from doing research, going out and finding out why are the eye colors not as vivid after I render the file. And it's something about that particular editing system, so I'm switching, I'm upgrading, and going to some of the industry standard rather than that. But see, my clients pay for that. You know, they pay and I upgrade. This is an option to find somebody to put you on tape that you pay if that is your only option. But don't ever walk in there and expect them to do everything for you. You go in, you're in charge, you know exactly how you want to slate. You don't ask them, you tell them what to do. That's what they want. It's not their audition. If they send it in wrong, it's not their fault. It's yours. So make sure you have all of that information. I mean, this is so exciting, Dennis, to get to tell people this, because so many people walk in, what do you want me to do? Well, I want you to audition, you know, just tell me what. Unless you hire me for coaching, you know, we're going to just do this 3 times. That's it. And that's what you should expect. But find someone to do it. There are several in LA. I have a couple here because I don't always carry my equipment with me. So when I'm here, I get to audition for my other agents from here. And I pay for it, and that's fine. When you upload, I'm sorry. Why not use white as a backdrop? And you know what? This is a good question. Most backdrops at auditions are white. Do you know that the casting directors ask for gray and blue, but they still tape you in front of a white backdrop? Do you know how much prettier our auditions are when we do them ourselves than when the CD does them? They don't have lighting. I walk in and go, oh, I know what I'm going to look like in this light, you know. So, you know, because I have great lights. Blue and gray are the best. But if that's the truth, then if that's what you have and what always ask your taper what color their backdrop is, and don't wear a light blue shirt, which is a very big favorite to wear, you know, but good solid colors, no logos, you all know that. But no stripes, no vivid prints, unless you're supposed to be a, you know, weird guy at a luau, you know, then it's a free-for-all there. You can do whatever you want. Makeup, especially for men. I had a guy come in, a young guy, good-looking guy, come in and audition recently, and I was shocked when he told me after it was over that he had on makeup. He had gone to a specialist. He had high-def makeup on. If you're going to wear it, get somebody to do it for you, somebody who really knows their stuff. But he had it on, and his skin was gorgeous, and he looked great. He did not, I would never have guessed that he had makeup on. With women, less is better, always, always on high def. But you want something, you know, you've got to have a little to smooth out the skin. But shows up skin flaws. Oh, yeah, it does. And sometimes even when you're well made up, you still got flaws. But, you know, take me, warts and all. I have an older mini DV camera. Are those still? Yes. Practice. Try it out and see. Put some good lights with it. And who knows? Whatever you've got, don't not do the audition. That's my plea. Get out there and audition and do these. Anything you've got, try it. If they're using camera phones, I can't imagine using a camera phone, but people do it. my agent in Louisiana is always bragging on some of the people who are out in the field, they're doing a job and they get another audition and they set up their hotel room and they do their audition on their phone. And it works. It's all about lighting and sound and getting close enough to that camera so that your voice is picked up. Doesn't have to sound like microphone like this. It shouldn't, as a matter of fact. To me, that's not natural. That's why I don't like lavs for tapings. A lot of people use them because you can breathe. But I can hear breath with this little mic. So try it out. I'm amazed at how much I can hear with that. What if you can't get a reader? Tips for taping alone. I don't have any. It doesn't work. People have tried it. Some friends of mine who are watching right now from New Orleans used to do that occasionally, and I fussed a lot. They don't watch it. They just won't watch it. But if you want to entertain the CDs, you know, that's great. Microphone. You have to buy a special microphone for your camcorder. That's what this one was, and this one was, I think it was 70 when I bought it, and now it's 49 or something. Yeah, I use a Sony, but they all have little ones, and you can look online and find them. Google or whatever, camcorder microphones, external microphones for camcorders, that sort of thing. And oh, you'll get more. You can spend the whole day watching the videos telling you how to do that. So I did one day, and I said, there went that day. What do you do if you have no pre-record audio? No. Just find somebody. I mean, call somebody. Say, I'll trade off with you. I'll do yours next time. I'll come, you know, wash your dishes or something. Whatever you have to do. It just doesn't work, and I've been told that by so many people. It's how many takes do you allow someone? Ooh, thank you. I started to put this in my notes. Who is paying you to videotape? I'm a perfectionist, and I really like everybody to have a great audition. But when we're in a heavy audition period, I may have back-to-back auditions. I usually allow at least 30 minutes for an audition. If it's a child, I give 45 or an hour because it takes that long to get them where they need to be to relax and do it. I tell people 3. And usually, if it's more than 3, or if I make a mistake, which happens sometimes, fire the camera person. I say that a lot because when you're reading, I read with my clients, and when you've got the camera here, and I'm reading, and I use a monitor, a large monitor, that I can look over and check and make sure that so I'm not looking at this little bitty screen I have on mine. But sometimes if it's a really emotional scene and I'm trying to hold eye contact with this person to help them, to give them as much as I can, we watch it and they've leaned, and they're way over here somewhere. And I'm going, oh. And sometimes you have to make a trade-off. Said, if they did it, fine. If I bumped the camera or something, I'd redo it. But 3, 5, more than 5, your quality of your audition starts going downhill. Don't ever go there and expect them to help you memorize your lines, because that's wasting everybody's time, and you will be over-rehearsed by the time you finish. You can't be fresh, it won't be spontaneous, and it'll show. So I just don't let people go past 5, and if they don't know their lines, I tell them to leave and come back and go learn your lines and call me. And I don't charge them until they do, unless it's consistent. And I don't have a lot of those because I'm pretty mean when I get on there. How many takes? Oh, that's it. Why do I keep doing the same one? Going rate varies anywhere from 30 for an audition to 150. Ask about the rate. It is a business proposition if you're going to someone to tape you. But always go in charge. I can't say that enough. But ask about the rate, and don't forget to pay them. Sometimes we get so excited that we did the audition, it was great, it was fabulous. They leave, they go, he didn't give me a check, or he didn't give me any money. And they call and say, oh gosh, I've even had people mail it to me or forget their checkbook or something. I do take checks. Not everyone does. Some people just want cash. I charge, I vary it. I give a discount to my agent, the people who are with my agents, any of them. And so that's a secret. But I usually charge 30 or 35, depending on how much time. 50 for an hour to really get some coaching and work. And I've coached for 40 years, so I know how, but I have to keep my mouth shut most of the time because it is your audition. And if someone tries to coach you and you don't like what they're doing, it's not going the direction you wanted it to be, tell them, I disagree. And I've actually had people tell me that. I still think I was right, but anyway, no, a good coach is going to allow you that freedom because it is your audition and you need to do it. But you can get hints and ideas from people. But don't let them take you. I did it before I got my camera equipment. I went in, and this is one of the reasons I went and got it. And they were just badgering me to do this. And I didn't agree. I did it. Of course, I didn't book it, and I should have because I was perfect. But take charge. And even if you're paying for coaching, it's still your audition. And the final product needs to be what you wanted it to be. Does the shotgun mic pick up the reader's voice at a higher volume than the auditioner? Yes, depending on where you put the reader. If I'm really close to the actor and the reader, then I always step back if I'm reading. If they bring a reader, which I sometimes don't like because then I'm having to deal with the reader and work on them. But if they have a good reader, it's great. If you have a good friend who wants to go with you as a great actor, then that works. But I always have them step back away from the camera. And this is my shotgun, when I put it on gun like that, it only picks up things in this direction. Like if there's a noise outside. I live near an airport. Yeah, so it's hold for the plane. But we had to do that on the set of Drop Dead Diva. It was constantly hold for the plane, you know. And that was in Peachtree. But the reader, it usually doesn't pick up their voice as much, but they need to keep it down. They just should be careful not to project. But if you're having an argument and you need your reader to be aggressive with you, then don't hesitate to do it. They should just not be any louder than you are in the final product. So you might want to listen to it before you let that one go. Are you finding more CDs are going after local hires rather than transporting actors from other cities? This has been the big deal in Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, North Carolina. I mean, there's Florida. Many of them, I actually work local hire in Georgia because my apartment in New Orleans is 496 miles away, and their state incentives, which is why we're going out there to shoot, say 500 miles and under. So every state has different rules. So you have to check if you want to work in Florida, want to work on one of those great shows that they're shooting in Florida, then check their incentives, see what's going on. Why are they hiring? But they're running out of people locally, especially on TV series that are going. Army Wives is just out of people because you can't use the same actors over and over for different parts. So they have to bring people in. And the ones I've worked with and dealt with, they do cover your expenses. Yeah, and even per diem. So it's love those contracts. It's good. But what they do is they do a mileage from that city, but since I'm so far away, I get the top, so it almost covers my flight. The biggest problem with working these smaller roles in cities like that and on some of these television shows is that they won't cast until 4 days before. So you got to get yourself there, and you can't get good, cheap flights, you know. You're just stuck with what you get. But local hire, that's all, you know, it's all about state incentives, and that's why the work, I mean, LA was like, oh, all my friends out here, they did all this work out in the boondocks. I know it was painful, but now you can compete with them. You know, you can do it. If you have a cousin in North Carolina, I didn't say that. It's done. Or if you have an agent there, you can use that. So they're getting a little more strict sometimes, but the thing is who has the deck here? We're what they need, all of us, and they're out of the product where they are, so they have to go out, and they're getting better, especially the really high-paying, the more popular shows that have good support and have good money. Yeah, they'll bring in. And believe me, it's what I tell people. They say, I don't want to do those video auditions. I said, well, you know, if it's your part and you don't audition, guess what? Everybody loses. Because when they see it, you've got to make them want you. And we do that with our talent and with our training and being ready for anything. And fearless, as I said at the beginning. So you've got to make it so that they don't want anybody else for that role, because you were just so darn good when you did it. Charge others, friends, that sort of thing, $25, $30, you know. Now, if you're working with a group that you regularly, I mean, somebody's going to drive over at 11 o'clock at night to read with you, then that's a whole different situation when you share equipment. But, I mean, $25, people in Dallas say, I don't want to pay for my audition. I say, okay, you go drive to Austin and back for less than $25. You know what's so exciting about LA is that now they've decided, because the casting directors have resisted this whole thing, the taping. They've really resisted it. But what's happening now is they've decided that it's green. And, you know, that's so California. It's the green way to do it, you know. You don't have to drive all the way to Santa Monica. You don't have to, you know. And that's just for the first audition. You still got to go for the callbacks, and callbacks are so much fun because you know they already love you, you know, so you're good to go. You walk in. And, oh, the cool thing is that you have it on tape, and if you get a callback for something, you can go back and look and see what you did. And if you're having a lot of auditions, you forget what you auditioned for 3 weeks ago. And all of a sudden you get a call back for something. I can go look and see what they liked and how can I make it even better than it was on the tape to go live. How did you cultivate a taping and local hire relationship with your agent and regional casting directors? A lot of hard work. A lot of postcards, Christmas cards. Some of them hate those, some of them love them. But if your picture's on it, they will usually keep it for a day or two anyway. Going to the auditions, I have an agent in Louisiana, and it took a long time to get this agent, so one of the top agents there. And I finally sent them an audition for something I wanted to read for. And I said, just pitch me on this. I know I'm right for it. And it was shooting in Louisiana. And she came back immediately with an LOL. Okay, go ahead and put me on your casting sites. You know, you got it. And that's how I got her. And she is a real pioneer, as all the agents are becoming out in the regions, in doing these video auditions. And she is just ruthless if you do. I mean, you've got to do great work. She won't submit it if it's not studio quality. And that's what they expect now. And I know that the CDs that are taping out on Santa Monica Boulevard, these places, those have got to look horrible because they don't have any lighting. And yet what we submit has got to be above and beyond what they do in the room. Will casting directors see a self-tape that is not requested? That's a tough one. And I really complain when agents ask for people to tape when they have not been requested. Your headshot is still your calling card, your reel. The casting director must know that you can do this work and that you're right for the part, or you're wasting your time and money. And even when I do my own auditions, my husband helps or friends come over and help, whatever, it's a lot of work. I mean, you've got to prep. You guys have it so easy. You don't have to go worry about makeup. And I have to get all decked and ready and get the room ready and emotionally ready and all that. But you're wasting your time if you weren't requested. If you're wrong for the part, then don't go to the trouble. This is what I said in the very beginning, a relationship with your agent, where you know they're pitching you, you know that they are following up and letting these people know that they are following up, and they expect you to watch that tape if you were requested. Now, if you're going in sight unseen, which a friend of mine here in LA who has just booked 2 national commercials this past year, he's young, what can I say? Anyway, he's doing a great job, but he does get submitted on things he wasn't requested for at the studios. His agent will send this stuff in, but he's doing studio quality. He's doing studio quality looking tapes to do that. You're welcome. Not a question, observation. Some camcorders might not have a jack for external mic. Mine doesn't. So it's, or if it does, it's that little teeny XLR thing that is crazy. That's why I ended up with this one. That's true. And so when you buy a camcorder, if sound being done with a mic and attached to your camera is important to you, then you're going to have to go that route. So it's a question. That's a good question. Be sure your camera has a jack for external mic. Yes. But you can do other things. The hot shoe works. What about the tripod lighting backdrop kits out there on the market? That's where that place that I mentioned earlier comes in handy, because they do have all of that. There's no reason. It's a great place to start if it's not real expensive, because you can get the whole package. But I would think, tripods are not that expensive, and I would go and look at them and play with them in the store and see what you want to use. It depends on how much stability you need. Did I have another question over here? Cowboy. I'm from Texas. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do my warm-ups. Okay. I'm done, I think. I think we're done here. What? At the end. Okay. Oh, give me a hand. Thank you. Enjoyed it. Just go out there and audition. Do great work.